All right, let's dive into one of the most mysterious and, honestly, profound cards in the whole tarot deck, the High Priestess. She's the guardian of our subconscious, the keeper of secrets, and for a lot of us, a major source of confusion. And this quote from a tarot student on Reddit, it just hits the nail on the head, right? You get to card number 2 and bam, you're suddenly drowning in all this symbolism and history and these big esoteric ideas. If you've ever felt that way, trust me, you are not alone. And here's the beautiful, ultimate irony that came up in that same discussion. The very act of trying to study your way through the High Priestess, to logically analyze every little detail, that's completely missing the point. See, she isn't a problem you solve with your brain, she's a presence you feel in your gut.
So to really get what she's all about, we've got to dig into her past. Her identity has actually shifted a lot over the centuries, but she's always represented this powerful and often rebellious kind of feminine knowledge.
Okay, so she first shows up as La Papesse, or the Popess, way back in the 15th century. Right off the bat, that's a direct challenge to the all-male church, often tied to the legend of a female Pope Joan. Some even connect her to a real person, Sister Manfreda, a nun who was actually elected popess by a heretical sect and was ultimately burned at the stake for it. Wild, right? Then, by 1909, the famous Rider-Waite deck recasts her as the more spiritual, mystical high priestess we know today. So from the very beginning, she's been the symbol of hidden power.
All right, now let's tackle that image that can feel so overwhelming. I promise, every single symbol isn't there to confuse you. It's actually a key, and it's unlocking a part of her core message.
First up, those giant pillars. Look at where she's sitting, right in the middle. She's not picking a side between light and dark or masculine and feminine. She embodies what some call the middle way. She is the equilibrium. She's the third pillar of wisdom that stands between extremes.
And to get specific, these are meant to be Jachin and Boaz, the pillars from the legendary Temple of Solomon. The black pillar, Boaz, represents the feminine, strength, and even severity. The white pillar, Jachin, is the masculine, establishment, and mercy. She's not one or the other, she's the path of wisdom that integrates them both.
And that veil hanging behind her? That's a huge clue. You see the pomegranates on it, symbols of fertility and the feminine mixed with palms, which represent the masculine. Now the key thing here is that it's not a brick wall, it's a curtain. It's showing us that all that deep sacred knowledge from our subconscious is right there, just beyond what we can immediately see, and she's the one guarding the entrance.
You can't miss the crescent moon at her feet, right? That is a dead giveaway. It connects her directly to everything lunar, intuition, dreams, the unconscious, the natural cycles of life. It shows she has total mastery over these emotional, intuitive realms. She doesn't fight the tides, she flows with them.
And then there's that scroll in her lap, marked Torah, for divine law and hidden wisdom. But here's the thing, look close. You can't see all of it. It's partially hidden. Why? Because this kind of wisdom, her kind of wisdom, can't just be taught from a book. It has to be felt, experienced, intuited. She already holds the wisdom inside her. She doesn't need to study it. Okay, so we've got the pillars, the veil, the moon, the scroll, all this stuff. So what is she actually trying to tell you when she shows up in a reading? Well, it all boils down to 2 incredibly simple but really powerful phrases.
This is it. Her number one message, plain and simple, is this. You already know the answer. That gut feeling you have, that little voice in the back of your head you've been trying to ignore, that's her. She's reminding you that the wisdom you're searching for out in the world is already inside of you. So how do you get to that answer? Well, that leads to her second message. She's telling us to stop the frantic searching, the endless scrolling, the constant noise of the outside world. Her power is found in stillness. When you finally quiet everything else down, you can finally hear yourself.
If this still feels a little abstract, think about it like this. She's kind of like Dr. Melfi from The Sopranos, you know? The therapist who just sits there in wise silence, creating the space for you to have your own breakthrough. Or she's Grandmother Willow from Pocahontas telling you to listen with your heart. Or maybe she's Rafiki from The Lion King, reminding you that the answers are already there, you just need to look harder.
Okay, so why is this quiet, kind of mystical card so darn important? Well, it's all about balance. In the bigger story of the tarot, she shows up right after the very first card we meet, the Magician. Think about it. First, we meet the Magician. He's all about action, the conscious mind, using the tools of the world to make things happen. He's all doing.
But then comes the High Priestess. She teaches us about the inner world, the subconscious mind, the deep knowing that we need to use all those tools correctly. Without her wisdom, the magician's action is just busy work.
So how do you actually do this? How do you tap into her energy in your own life? It's really just 3 simple steps. First, retreat. Step away from the noise and distractions. Second, reflect. Pay attention to your dreams, journal, listen to your gut. And third, and this is the hardest part, trust. You have to learn to have faith in that inner voice, even when it doesn't make logical sense.
And you know, it all comes back to her number. 2. The number of duality, of balance, of partnership. The High Priestess represents the most important partnership you'll ever have, the one between your conscious, active mind and your deep, intuitive self.
So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought. The High Priestess isn't asking you to quit your life and go live in a cave. She's asking for balance. In a world that is constantly screaming, do more, go faster, she just quietly whispers a timeless question. When are you going to make space for that stillness? And what secrets are waiting for you there?